Hello, friends, and welcome to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. In this podcast, we introduce you to powerful women who are changing the game in and outside of their field of play. These are women's stories, women who happen to be doing things that many of us can only dream of, but the lessons and inspiration they share is universal. Welcome back to the Powerful Podcast. I am so excited because we have a Dynasty member joining us today. She is a member of Team USA Women's Water Polo. She's a UCLA grad, a fellow Southern California native. She also happens to be a two-time Olympic gold medalist. In 2016, she scored 12 goals when the U.S. won their second straight Olympic gold in women's water polo. And then in 2020, this woman was named the MVP of the women's water polo gold medal match because she had a casual 18 goals. Maddie Musselman, thank you so much for joining the Powerful Podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so I want to talk about you as a person, but we would be remiss to not make sure the people know what is at stake for you and your team in Paris this summer, because like I mentioned, USA Women's Water Polo already has 3 straight gold medals. You've been a part of the last 2 of them, and this year going for an unprecedented 4th gold medal. It would be the first time any water polo team from any country, men or women, have achieved that feat. How are you guys getting ready for Paris?
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I mean, the pride and the excitement around the Olympic Games definitely comes about as you get closer and closer to it. I think that the legacy that this program has had obviously adds a lot of excitement, but also a lot of pressure, external pressure that, comes from expectations and being able to kind of carry on that gold medal that we have had in the past. But at the same time, I think our team hasn't won a gold medal yet. This specific group, the girls that have been a part of this program for a while, some of us have been lucky to win a gold medal before, but we also have players who've never won before. So as a team and going into a Paris Olympics with this Paris Olympic team, this is our first time. And so I think that relieves that pressure and then relieves that legacy talk that a lot of people are talking about. But I would be lying if I said we didn't want to win and we didn't want to carry that on. But for sure exciting, for sure on the top of our mind, to get to the top of the podium. And we're looking forward to getting to Paris and doing our best that we can.
So with that in mind, talk to me about this team. What is it that makes this team, this 2024 Women's Water Polo Paris Olympic team, special, unique, and with a great shot to make it to the top of the podium?
This group is by far one of my favorites in that I've been a part of this program for a while. I've been on the team for 10 years and I've been the young player. I've been kind of in that middle, finding the leadership role. And now I'm kind of more of a veteran and kind of have a different perspective on what this process is all about. And it's just been really enjoyable getting the opportunity to lead in the way that I play the sport, but also see younger athletes and those that are doing this for the first time really grow into their role. And so for me, this team has just been very determined to get better. We've been not as talented as we have been in the past. And the success has been a little bit harder to attain in terms of we had to work a little bit harder to win games. And I've been loving that part of it. I like when there's a fight. I like when the competitiveness is, hard to get to. And so this team has really come a long way. We've grown a lot. And I think something that sets us apart is that growth that we've had. And to be able to kind of go back and look at the lessons we've learned and carry that into this Olympics with people that have been here before. Like I said, we have 7 new players who've never been to the Olympics before. And then we have 6 that have been to the Olympics before. So it's a great mix of experience and lack of experience.
So as one of the veterans on this team, it was really cool. I was listening to your conversation with Ari Chambers in preparation for this interview, the one that's on teamusa.com if you guys want to check it out. It's called The Olympic Dynasty You Don't Know, and it was with you, Maggie Steffens, Rachel, and Ashley Johnson, and you guys are 4 of the veterans on this team. And it was so cool to hear each of you sort of lift the other up with like what they brought to this team, the uniqueness and the strength. And one of the things, Maddie, that kept coming up for you is your brain. You said that was the body part that you were the most grateful for. You said that that is the thing that you really feel like you bring. And I believe it was Maddie who echoed that and said, Maggie who echoed that and said, yeah, Maddie has changed the way that this game is played. Can you break down how you have done that?
Yeah, it's tough. I think like when I first came into this program and this team, I lacked experience. Everything was new for the first time, and I wouldn't say that like my strength was my brain. But over time and just the time that I've spent with this group and specifically with those 3 players, I've been playing with them since the beginning, and just getting to learn everyone's strengths and weaknesses. Like for me, that was kind of where my power came from with my mind. And when you go into an Olympic process, you have to kind of have that self-belief and that courage to be there. And that comes with the right mindset. And, having that belief from the beginning until now, I think has been one of my strengths. And I think a lot of people look to me for that mindset. And I do bring a lot of heart into what I do, but it's more of like a lead by example. I'm more of a calmer player when it comes to playing this sport. And I overthink a lot. I do a lot of thinking when it comes to this sport. And so I think a lot of people admire that about the way that I play. But I've learned a lot from the players around me. Maggie has a lot of heart. She plays with a lot of passion. Rachel's very competitive and is always like that determined one to win every single little thing in this game of water polo. And Ashley obviously is doing all of those things at once in the goal. And I think I'm just very lucky to be surrounded by so many different aspects of what it means to make a great athlete.
I got to watch you guys in person at an exhibition up in Irvine, which is where we met. And It was so cool because it really is like watching different parts of a body all move in tandem when you guys are together. Like the attackers are coming up and they are, bringing the ball up, and then there's the defenders. Then there's Ashley in goal, who just like looks like Wonder Woman because she just rises up out of the water and says, "Not today," to like almost every ball that comes her way. Tell me about how you guys have developed that chemistry, or maybe even a better question is like, I would love to know an example of when you looked at this team and you said, oh, okay, we're different than the past 2 teams that I've been on for the Olympics, but we've still got that special something that makes me believe, yeah, we can do this again.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I've been playing with Ashley, Maggie, and Rachel for 10 years. And so that connection's been something that's been built over a long period of time. And I would be lying to say that like these new girls come in and you feel that right away. It's something that you definitely have to build over time. And I think we're lucky that we do have people that have been here for a good amount of time so that the younger girls who are coming in can see what that connection looks like and look up to it and admire it and try to strive for it and try to have those connections with this group. And this quad's been a little bit shorter with COVID and Tokyo being pushed a year, and we've only had about 2 summers of development together as a group. And I probably would say I felt this connection that I've had with these past players that I've been playing with, most recently at World Championships in Doha in 2024. We ended up winning. We actually lost in the previous World Championships the summer before, and I felt like we didn't have that chemistry and connection that you're talking about that past summer. And it was cool to feel connected to girls who are doing this for the first time, who are finally confident in their role for the team, who are able to mesh well with whoever's in the water with them and kind of be able to read what's in front of them and read the game of water polo, which for those of you who are listening and don't understand the sport as well, there's just a lot going on in the water. Both above and under. So
yeah, that's like the understatement of the century.
Yeah. So I just think the ability to stay focused and like, obviously you have to worry about yourself, but you also have to worry about the people next to you and be able to connect with the people next to you. And I specifically remember when we played Spain in the semifinal of World Championships, I felt really connected to this team and really excited for the opportunity that we're going to have in Paris to showcase that connection and strive for that gold medal for this specific team together. And we've been through a lot of adversity as a team, but also each individual person has been through adversity that has led them to this moment. And so it's just really exciting.
I want to talk about now your personal journey with water polo and sort of what it has taken for you to be ready to compete with this team in Paris, because despite the fact that you've been on the team for a decade, this Olympic cycle has been filled with, I would venture to guess, more ups and downs than any one previous for you. So walk me through what you personally, Maddie, have been through in this Olympic cycle.
Yeah, this Olympic cycle has been pretty crazy for me. In the beginning, post Tokyo, I went back to UCLA for my senior year of college, played that season out, and then I actually got hip surgery. So I had to go through an injury and rehab and kind of work my way back into the national team process. And that was after World Championships, played with this group for the first time. We won World Championships in 2022. It was really exciting. And then I actually decided to move across the country to Philadelphia, train by myself with rehab, kind of prepare myself for, I'm going to PA school in the fall. So I was doing I was doing a post-bac program, lived out in Philadelphia by myself, and kind of came back. We had a summer we lost. This was the summer I was talking about before, where we lost in World Championships. And then kind of going into this Olympic year, the Olympic cycle is 4 years, but because of COVID, it was 3 years. But this is actually the Olympic year from about, May of 2023 through the Olympics. And it began with my husband getting diagnosed with cancer. And we got engaged in June of 2023, and then got that diagnosis. He actually swam the English Channel. He also is an athlete, played water polo at UCLA, has a big open water swimmer. I think that's kind of where our connection really kind of kickstarted, is just our passion for swimming and being in the water. And he got diagnosed with cancer and kind of went into this Olympic year a little bit unsure of what everything was going to look like. Took some time to myself, and then he's a huge water polo fan. He loves this team a lot, and he kind of pushed me back into the water, back into training. And I've been training while supporting him fighting cancer, and made it this far. And we have about 3 weeks left till we leave. So he's doing well, but it's definitely had a lot of ups and downs this Olympic cycle for sure.
I cannot imagine what that phone call must have been like for you guys, because I read a little bit about your story and finding that out, and it was so new. And you're still so new in your marriage, yeah. And you guys are navigating one of the most challenging things a couple can go through in this life. How have you done that? How have you found that balance?
Yeah, it's been tough. I think it's interesting. I feel like ever since we found out, things have lined up honestly very perfectly. We obviously don't want to hear that about anyone getting cancer, yeah. And it's obviously a very devastating moment to experience, but at the same time, there's so much joy and light that comes with something that kind of pushes your life in an uncomfortable direction. And we got married about 4 or 5 days after we kind of navigated what we wanted everything to look like moving forward. His family came to visit probably 2 or 3 weeks after we kind of came up with a plan for treatment. And then we decided, hey, we want to get married, and everyone flew back down after 4 days. Got married the day before he started cancer treatment. And kind of ever since then, it's just been not necessarily smooth sailing. We've definitely had highs and lows, but his goal has been to make it to the Olympics. And he's had this 9-month journey of I just got to make it to Paris. I've never been to the Olympics before. And we've kind of relied on our faith during this time. I come from a background of growing up going to church, and he comes from a family as well who's very faithful. And I think that's been kind of the foundation of why we've been able to get through what we've gotten through. And we're just very lucky to have each other kind of in our corner, cheering each other on. And, obviously I'm a huge support for him, but also he's a huge support for me in the world of water polo. So I'm just very lucky to have him kind of right there next to me, whether he's actually there or not. You can't travel to every single tournament, but I know he wants to. So I definitely feel his presence wherever we go. And we have the best family to support us as well, and people that have gone out of their way to do things that wouldn't be happening if we weren't going through this. And it's just been amazing to see the people kind of surround us with love.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that struck me when hearing you tell that is like one of the first things that you said is, as terrible as this is, and as much as you wouldn't want to wish it on anybody, you guys are finding joy and light in this situation. And you mentioned your faith, but I'm curious, how did you find that joy and light? Like what was the thing that you said, hey, we've got a variety of ways to handle this, and like we're going to choose to find joy and light?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't like anxious or nervous or like overthinking. But the one thing that I'm very lucky is my husband. His name's Pat. He's by far the strongest person I know, obviously, but just has the right mindset. And he's been from the beginning just like very steadfast in the way that he's been thinking about this process. And for me, like when you're looking at someone who's going through it and they like aren't wavering in that joy and light and happiness, like the darkness doesn't come in if the person that's going through it is feeling that way. And so it's just easy for me to be more joyful and have that light if, the person who's fighting is feeling that way. So it's just a little bit easier when he has that mindset. And I think that comes from the way that he was raised and the way that he looks at this situation. He doesn't feel sorry for himself. He doesn't think it's unfair. So I can't think that way either. And to support him the best way that I can, I feel like I've adopted his mindset around it. And I've been very lucky to have him have that this entire time as I've been going through this process. But as well, like I took 3 weeks once we found out before I came back to water polo. I took my time to make sure that I was ready to like go back into the team. And I actually came back for like 2 weeks and we hadn't qualified for the Olympics yet. We were still about to go to Pan American Games, and I actually hurt my knee and I tore my MCL. And so I actually didn't go to Olympic qualifications, which I was like, come on, I like just came back from like finding out this obviously sad news about my husband. I was so excited to play for him, and like I was back training and I was ready to go, and then I hurt myself. And but at the same time I was like, this is just more time to spend with him. And so I just changed the narrative around all these things that I've gone through, the hiccups that have been a part of this journey is, oh, I get to spend more time with Pat. I get to be with him. And then when I'm playing water polo, I get to say like, oh, I get to do this for him. I get to play for him, and he gets to watch me play. And so I've just kind of been going through the ebbs and flows of what this is going to look like, because it's so unpredictable and you can't control everything as much as we all want to. And he's just been constant support in the corner no matter what's been happening. And obviously he was sad about not watching me play for Olympic qualifications, but he also was like, well, at least I get to have you by my side as I start like treatment. And so it's definitely been a blessing throughout this entire process.
I think one of the things too that is interesting to me as I hear you talk about this is it feels like you are so intentional in being present, and like you knew that you couldn't come back to water polo until you were ready to be fully present, and you needed to be with him to be fully present. And I wonder, do you feel like sports almost helped teach you the power of presence and how to do that? Because I think about, like I was a gymnast growing up, I'm a surfer my whole life, and for me, those two sports really required I have to be present, because otherwise, like the next wave is going to absolutely drag me under, or I'm going to end up on my face, like on a dismount on the bars, right? And so water polo is another one of those sports that like, nope, everything has to be paying attention, or like you're not just playing on hard ground, like you're in the water. Like, so if you don't practice your presence, you're sinking to the bottom. Exactly. And then now you're dealt with this like really challenging life situation. And instead of focusing on what you're missing, you're choosing to focus on what you're present for. Do you feel like water polo and sports has helped sort of teach you that lesson and prepared you maybe?
Yeah, 100%. I think I was raised in a way where I knew my values and who I was at a very young age. And I've always been told I'm an old soul and very mature for how old I am. And I think I carried that with a lot of pride going into like this Olympic process. And, I joined the team at 15. So I had a lot of perspective thrown at me from so many different angles, and I was able to really absorb what it means to be an athlete and how do you carry that with you when you leave sport and when you go out and you go to school and you're with your friends. And I think I've been very lucky to have sport kind of mold who I am and influence it alongside, my family and my relationships and my schoolwork and my education. And I feel like I've been able to kind of navigate what that means for me. And, we all go through adversity as athletes, and water polo is probably in my opinion, the hardest sport in the world to play. And so, I've been very lucky to be surrounded by amazing athletes who, just throw wisdom at me every day. And something that has really resonated recently with me, and my coach has said this to our group a lot, is that it says a lot about a person with how they respond to what happens to them. And this can apply to sport, it can apply to life. And I feel like I really have taken that with me with, my husband's diagnosis. The way that I play this sport now is you can't control necessarily everything that happens to you, but you can control the way that you respond and the way that you act after those things happen to you. And I don't want people feeling sorry for me because of what I'm going through. I want to feel the love and support, and I want to show them an inspiring way to act after something like this has happened. And I just carry that with me in my mind as I move forward, and that I'm an example of adversity happening and being able to execute and move forward and take that next step. And as scary as it is, and as nerve-wracking, and you feel the external expectations, and you feel people looking at you and they're asking you your story, and it can be really intimidating and scary. But at the same time, I have so many people who are in my corner with me, and that's all the people that I care about, just supporting and loving me through it. And so I can step out into the world and feel confident, no matter how I'm feeling deep inside is obviously a little bit more fearful than I have been in the past, but also so confident and way more outgoing than I've been, because of what I'm going through, which is pretty surprising to me. I feel like this process, if I had been younger and this happened to me, I probably would have bottled up and would just be hiding for the rest of my life. But just, I think the blessing of having sport push me, push my boundaries, push me outside of the box. I feel prepared for this in a way. And I feel prepared because I'm also on a team, and I have a team of people that are willing to be there with me every step of the way. So I know Pat and I are very lucky to have been a part of teams and a part of a really good family that feel like a team as well. And I wouldn't be able to do that without them.
That's such a gift, and it's so cool to hear you live out that example. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to share that story, because it probably feels easier on days to just stay within your bubble and within your team. But I think it's so powerful to hear you share it, because you never know what anybody else is going through unless you put it out there, and that creates community that maybe really, really needs it in this time, for someone else and for you. And so I thank you for being willing to share your story, because you're impacting people that you don't even know about. Before we move into our next segment, I would be remiss to not talk about how challenging your sport is. My dad played water polo, so I grew up learning how to egg beater in the water, and it's still something that I practice just to remind myself that I can do it if a wave is coming or whatever. But this is a very challenging sport, because you're not only going against another team trying to score a goal. So think of I would be curious, for people who don't know what water polo really entails, how would you describe this sport? What would be the combination of sports that you would say water polo is?
I always say water polo is a mix, obviously swimming. So we're in a body of water, we're swimming. It's basketball in a way that you're set up kind of around the perimeter, and then you have someone who's in the middle, someone who guards that middle person, and then you just have a lot of movement. And I feel like basketball has a lot of movement as well. It's like soccer, you're trying to score on a goal. And then the one unique thing about water polo is you can't touch the bottom. You can only use one hand when you touch the ball, but you can also be really physical. So I say it's a lot like hockey. Yeah, the good old up and over on your arm.
This thing.
Yeah, a lot of faking. But it's like hockey in a way. And I describe it as hockey in that the physicality is very natural for our sport. you're always pushing, you're grabbing. You're not supposed to kick people, but obviously it comes with just the territory of being close to someone and you're egg beatering and you're treading water. They actually have underwater cameras now, so you can get in trouble for too much physicality. And then similar to hockey is if you get caught or you get in trouble for being too physical, you take a penalty. So you actually can get kicked out of the game for 20 seconds and you get 3 of those a game. And if you get your third, you can't play the rest of the game. So you have to be pretty careful about how physical you are. Yeah.
So walk me through, before there were underwater cameras, what would you describe underwater, the underwater aspect of water polo like?
A lot of kicking. We wear one-piece suits, so similar to swimming, there's just a lot of material to grab onto. So people are grabbing a suit and like just have contact with someone. You have a lot of wrist grabbing underwater. People who like to elbow, you'll try to sneak it like underwater as you're swimming. You can like kind of clip people. But those are more like if people are being intentional about it. It's just not it's not sportsmanship, and I avoid physicality at all costs. I do not like being grabbed. I am not the strongest person in the water, so I avoid physicality. But if someone's gonna dish it to me, I get angry and will sometimes like grab back, or I use my speed to my advantage. So I'll just like swim as fast as I can away from them and they can't catch up to me. So I avoid the like underwater kicking, grabbing if I can.
Yeah, you're like, get me once, fine, but you're not going to get me a second time because you're not going to catch me.
Exactly. That's my mentality. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, well, we cannot wait to root you on in Paris. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your story.
Of course.
We're going to move on now to the Something to Sip On segment. It is brought to you by the Sports Bra. They are the first women's sports bar in the world, as far as we know, in Portland, Oregon, near and dear to my heart. So, Maddie, the week of your episode, we're going to have a special drink called the Maddie, and we want to know, what are you sipping on after a victory, after a hard practice? Like, what is your go-to something to sip on?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I feel like we all celebrate in different ways, and I think during an Olympic year, I will preface, I don't drink that much during an Olympic year, but I'd be lying if I said, like, we didn't celebrate after games and, like, after a big tournament. And it just, when you're in the right moment at the right time, obviously. And when I go out to dinner with my husband or, we're spending time together, I feel like I'm always like ordering a margarita. It's kind of like like a spicy margarita. That's if I go specialty. That's if I like want to be pretty crazy. But just like a simple margarita. And it's hard when you go abroad, though, when you're like international, they don't always have the same drinks available. But I would say if I'm in the US and I'm with my family or my teammates and we're going out, I'll probably get a margarita.
Any flavor in particular?
No, just either classic margarita or I'll do a spicy margarita, add some jalapenos in there.
Ooh, I love a good spicy margarita. They are so good.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to move into our Powered Up segment. So this is where we go rapid fire questions and just give me the first thing that comes to mind, okay?
Oh boy. Okay.
It's gonna be great. Ready?
Okay.
We'll start off with an easy one. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint chip.
Ooh, okay. Go-to meal before or after water polo?
Oh, probably like tacos. I like Mexican food, so like enchiladas or like a burrito.
It's the Southern Californian in you, the San Diegan in me. I have very high standards for Mexican food.
Yeah.
Are you a night owl or an early bird?
Probably a early bird. Sorry, I go to bed at like 6:30 at night. It's crazy. I go to bed early.
Seriously?
I try to. Yeah, it's my husband's like we are turning into old people.
Oh my
like
God.
We're like 80-year-olds.
So what time are you waking up if you're going to bed at 6:30?
Well, I have to leave by like 5:45. So I'm usually like up around 5:15.
Sheesh.
So I'm sleeping a lot though. It's nice.
That's good though. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we should be, didn't a new study just come out that women are supposed to be getting like 10 hours of sleep a night anyway?
Yeah.
So
I know. I mean, I'm probably exaggerating 6:30. Probably like 7. but like that's still early.
It's still pretty early. Yeah. There's a lot of sporting events that don't even start until 7 o'clock.
I know, exactly.
You are a little bit on the early side, but that's good. Okay, what is the favorite place your sport has taken you?
Ooh, probably Italy.
Oh, that's it. What part of Italy?
We went to Rome for a day, and I just really enjoyed. They have a training center outside of Rome, and I really loved that area. Just a lot of great. I'm a foodie. I love good food, and Italian food's just at the top of the list right there.
It is so good. Yeah. And then, if you weren't a water polo player, what would your Olympic sport be?
Probably beach volleyball. Oh, even though okay. I've never really played it, but I'm always fascinated by that sport. Or tennis. I love tennis.
Okay, I like it. I can see it.
Yeah.
What is your favorite dessert?
Chocolate chip cookie.
Nice. And then we didn't even really talk about your parents, but you come from a pedigree of very athletic people. You're one of 3 daughters. Your dad was a Major League Baseball player. Your mom played soccer, I believe, at Rutgers, right?
Yep.
So what is the best piece of advice that you've gotten from your parents?
To love what I do. I think I've been very lucky to have parents that have never forced a sport or forced an experience on me. I feel like they've always wanted me to find my own way in whatever I love to do. And I've just been very thankful that I tried all the sports. I did soccer, I did basketball, I did swimming, I think I did dance for like maybe one session, but it wasn't for me. I just been very lucky that their advice was to make sure that I love what I do. And within water polo as well, and even now playing on this team for so long, they always check in and make sure I'm enjoying the process and enjoying what I do. And I think I've been just lucky to have that love surrounded by my sport. And that if I don't feel that passion or love anymore, that they're still right there supporting me with whatever I want to do next.
I love that. And then the last question for you, Maddie, is this is the Powerful podcast. We're all about highlighting powerful women. What does powerful mean to you?
Ooh, I like that. I mean, I saw your powerful and I was like, oh, that's really great. I like that. For me, I think it means being who you are and kind of molding that with as life changes. I feel like you have your values and you have who you want to be every single day, but knowing that as you go through life and as things come at you, that we can all be better and keep changing and keep making our way up. And I think as women that we're making strides, and especially women in sport, and never being satisfied with just where you are right now. There's another stepping stone to get to the next place, the next spot, the next stage of your life. And I just am always kind of advocating that you can be better than you were yesterday. And I tell that to myself every morning that I wake up, is just another opportunity to get better. And whether that's in my sport, whether that's just in my relationships with my friends, with my husband, with my family, I think I would say that powerful are those people that are willing to just push to be better.
And when do you feel the most powerful?
When do I feel the most powerful? I probably feel the most powerful when I'm surrounded by the people that are pushing me to be better. Like I said before, I love surrounding myself with those who are like-minded, who have this, similar goals in life, but also different perspectives and different opinions, and kind of, push me to kind of consider different ways to think about things. And I feel powerful when I feel that presence. And I know that comes from, having a background in faith and just being loved in general and being loved in this life. And I would say that that's probably when I feel the most powerful.
I love it. Well, Maddie, I feel powerful watching you guys compete for another gold. So I cannot wait to see y'all in Paris in just a few weeks. Best of luck with the last of your training. We cannot wait to root you on and send our love and gratitude to Pat as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. This is a reminder to check us out every Tuesday all summer long, everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you really enjoy this and don't want to miss an episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button.